Today, we are talking with one of our speakers from the upcoming Stepmom Summit, and you are going to want to hear her.
I'm Cameron. I spent years building my career and creating a life I loved. And when my Prince Charming finally showed up, he had 4 kids in tow. Fast forward through lots of mistakes made and lessons learned, step family life was much more complicated than I realized. If you're looking for help with blended family life, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Stepmom Diaries, where we keep it real as we dish about all the things. This is your weekly dose of blended family inspiration and encouragement. You're not the wicked stepmother, so let me help you find your fairy tale ending. Come on, let's do this.
Hello, welcome. I am excited about today's episode, and this is one that has been a long time coming. Alicia Krasko and I have been in a couple of business groups together for the last few years, and so I've seen, her put stuff out on Stepmoms, and, we've chatted here and there, and I've gotten to know her a little bit better recently, and I was thrilled that she agreed to join this year's Stepmom Summit as one of our speakers. And if you aren't familiar with the Stepmom Summit, it is 3 days of live sessions with the literal top step family experts and coaches and therapists in the world. It is virtual. You can join in your pajamas. And we're going to have replays in case you miss a session, but you're going to want to be there live because this year, for the first time ever, we're doing every session live. So you're going to get to interact with every single speaker, including Alicia. So at the summit, Alicia is going to talk about conflict, specifically how to handle conflict when the extended family, like picture the in-laws, get in on the action. And I know this applies to some of y'all because I hear about it. So it's going to be a really great session. And this is really tricky stuff, right? But Alicia has a really fantastic perspective. She's very realistic and down to earth. So show up for the Stepmom Summit. Go to the stepmomsummit.com. You can grab your free ticket, and I'll link to that in the show notes as well. But you're definitely going to want to be there and hear this discussion that I'm going to have with Alicia. So let's get to our discussion for today's episode. Alicia is a stepmom coach. She is host of the Stepmom Side podcast and CEO of the Stepmom Side Community, an online community empowering stepmoms to navigate their unique challenges with confidence and clarity. Through coaching, community, and transformational mindset work, she helps stepmoms go from overwhelmed and burnout to feeling in control and at peace in their role. Alicia's mission is to create a space where stepmoms feel heard, supported, and empowered to thrive in their blended families. So let's get into this discussion. It is a great one, and I think you'll really enjoy it. Alicia, welcome. I'm so excited to have you.
Hi, Cameron. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So I just mentioned that you're going to be speaking at the Stepmom Summit, and so excited about that. But before we get started, I always like to know my guests' origin stories. So tell me how you met your husband and how you became a stepmom, and tell me about your family and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so how much time do we have? I met my husband when I was 26. We actually worked together, so that's how we met. And we did long distance. He was here in Michigan. That's where I am now. And I, at the time, was living down in Texas. So we did long distance for like a little over 2 years. And then I moved in full time. And when I met my stepkids, prior to moving in, obviously, but they were 8 and 11, and now they are 24 and 21. So they're grown and out of the house. They're almost 25 and 24, which is crazy to think. But yeah, I thought it was going to be great. Like, I've always loved kids. Like, kids always seem to like me. Like, how bad could it be? Right. And like, things were really good, Cameron, until they weren't. And then it's like, we got married, and I feel like everything like hit the fan. And I was just like, I don't even know what's happening. Like, how did this happen? And so it got to the point where I was literally Googling basically daily, like how to get divorced. And I didn't give my husband an ultimatum, but basically I was like, we either need to get help or we need to rethink this situation because this isn't working. And part of me was like, what is wrong with you, Alicia? Because I didn't sign up to get divorced, right? But I also, on the other hand, did not sign up for all of this. Like, I don't even know what's happening. How hard could it be? It's going to be great, right? Like, I can get along with anyone. Kids always like me. My in-laws liked me. You know, their stepmom. I mean, my stepkids' mom liked me. Like, how bad could things be? And then it was like a switch. Like, oh, now Alicia's a permanent fixture. Now they're married and now she can't go anywhere. Now it's really hard for her to leave. Let's see what happens. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not ready for this. Then we got outside help, and that really helped. I always talk about this like with Stepmom Today Coach, or I've talked about it on my podcast. And I loved marriage counseling because for the first several sessions, it was extremely validating for me. Like, our marriage coach or counselor was like, you know what, Alicia, you're right. We're both in session together. You know, he needs to do this. He needs to do this. He needs to do this. Like, we need to have boundaries. We need to have some expectations, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, this place is great. I love it here. This is amazing. And then she turned her chair to me and was like, okay, let's talk about you. And I was like, what about me? Like, I've never been married. Yeah, I'm not the problem. Like, I have never been married. I don't have any kids, and I'm not bringing any drama. Like, what are we talking about? And she's like, let's talk about how you react to situations versus like responding to situations. Let's talk about your extremely high expectations and how you're willing to die meeting them and no one else is. Or let's talk about how you operate very black and white and there's a lot of gray area. Let's talk about how you could be kinder to yourself, how you could give everyone a little bit of grace, or like how you could deliver things a little bit nicer. And I was like, I actually don't like it here anymore. Can we stop going?
Are we done now?
Yeah. It was like, how many more sessions? Because we're not renewing. And honestly, even though like that didn't feel good and I didn't like it, right? Like, it's always really great as a stepmom. It's not great, but like, it's easy to be like, oh, Cameron's doing this wrong, or they're doing that wrong, or they're doing that wrong. But it never feels good to like look at the mirror and be like, okay, Alicia, like, you need to get it together because you play a part in this too.
Yes,
and that
all
part
bring our own
sucks.
stuff in, right? Sometimes it gets magnified because we're in this crazy situation.
And you don't even see it. And then just yesterday, I was talking to my husband and he was like, you know, sometimes I feel, so we don't go anymore. We stopped going, not because of that, but not very long after that, because I was like, okay. And I'm one of those people, like, I can read something and like it's memorized. I like learn pretty quickly. And so I was like, okay, I don't like what she's telling me, but I understand why she's telling me, right? Like, my feelings aren't hurt. It doesn't feel good to hear, but like, my feelings aren't hurt. Like, okay, I can be like, you know what, you're right. I'm sorry. I'm a jerk. Like, I should handle things a bit differently. And he's like, I wonder, we should reach back out to her and see what she thought, like, after we stopped going, if she was like, oh, they're never going to make it or not. And I had said to him, I was like, that's interesting because we have a daughter together and she's 6. Not long after we had her, I had texted her and I was like, hey, this is so corny, but like, this is totally me. I'm like, hey, you know what? Thank you so much for all of your help 5 years ago. Things are really good. Like, here's a picture. Like, we just had a daughter not that long ago. And she was like super sweet and like responded. But he's like, I wonder what she would think. And I'm like, oh, that's a good question. I wonder what she thought. I wonder if she's like, she's crazy. Good luck, sir. Or if she was like, you know what? You guys are going to be good. Like, he's pretty like level-headed. Like, I used to be, not so much anymore, but like, anger from like anger management, like head would just blow off and he's like ice water through his veins, like the calm to my storm. And but yeah, I'm like, oh, that's a good point. Like, I wonder what she thought. So yeah, now
I bet she thought y'all were healthy because, you know, it's sort of like the same thing. And I'm sure you tell this to your stepmom clients too. You know, they'll come in, they'll be like, feel like I'm just doing a horrible job and I'm going to mess up these kids because like all this stuff. And I'm like, no, if you're here, you're doing a good job. So like the fact that you guys went and sought help, like she probably thought you guys were pretty good.
Yeah, I think so too. And like our conversations in there with her, like we both deal with things like via humor. So it wasn't like we were in there screaming at each other or like exchanging barbs or anything. Like, it was like funny stuff. Like, maybe that sounds weird, but like, that's how we deal with things. I mean, there were times that we would ride home together, like silently, but in there, it was never like a screaming match, or we don't do name calling either. So I was just like funny stuff. And I'm sure she's like, what? Okay, I guess that's better than them like yelling at each other. But yeah, it's wild because just we're recording on a Friday, but on Wednesday I was on office hours with a stepmom and like in my community. And she said, do you ever get triggered like talking about stepmom stuff? And it's probably the same for you too, Cameron. I'm like, no, because I'm out of that part of it. And because I've talked about it so much,
Yeah.
I'm like desensitized to it. It's not like, and I've done the healing part. So I'm not like, oh my God, my heart is palpitating, like talking about this. No, I don't feel like that at all. And she's like, wow,
Yeah.
how do I get to where you are? And I'm like, you need time.
Yeah, totally. It does. It takes time. And I mean, I think it's really healthy. And I love to hear you talk about getting couples counseling because I think it's so healthy and it's so helpful. And we've done it too. And for us, it wasn't like for going for any sort of major issue that was going on. We had actually kind of gotten past a lot of the big stuff in our step family. It was largely just to sort of tune up our communication with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And because we found that we would like trigger each other,
Mm-hmm.
and it was so healthy and so helpful, and just learning some new skills, and if you have the right people. And I always tell people, like, I think coaching and therapy work really well together, but you have
Mm-hmm.
to have a therapist that understands the blended family dynamic.
Oh my gosh.
And
Yes.
we're going to talk a lot about that at the summit too. Um, we actually have a session about like coaching versus therapy and like how you pick and how they can work together and stuff, which I think will be really fun. But it's such a challenge right now because there are so many professionals that don't have the training in blended families, and they try and approach a blended family the way that they would, with the things that they would use for a first family or with the guidance that they would use for a first family. And it can be really destructive, and I don't know about you, but I get a lot of clients that like, they're like, yeah, my therapist, didn't understand and told me this. And I'm like, oh, sweetie, let's talk about how you look for a therapist. And like, let me give you some tools for like questions you need to ask,
Yeah. Yeah, same. I have had stepmoms like that I've coached or that I've been in the community and they're like, I have a therapist. And I'm like, that's amazing. Can I ask you about your therapist?
Yeah.
Do they
Yeah.
have any training or any experience
So
in blended
important.
family? And I almost want to say, and this sounds terrible, but I'm like, unless you've lived in a blended family, you can get all the training in the world. But unless you've been through it, it's such a different dynamic. And you're right. The things that you're trying with a nuclear family or an origin family or a first family, whatever you would like to call it, do not work in a blended family. And so if you're like, oh, just love them because they're kids, my friend, please don't. Yeah. And so anytime I have somebody, like my very first question is, do they have any experience with blended families? If not,
Yep.
You're right. Like it's almost more destructive than it's helpful.
Absolutely.
And same thing. I'm like, here are things that you can ask them because it doesn't work and you're just going to be bashing your head against the wall. You're going to be wasting your money and you're going to be like, I don't understand why I'm not making any progress. And I'm like, well, that's not helpful.
Trisha Pappernow gave me some great advice a few years ago, and it's now like, it's what I do now. And I'm sure hopefully she's getting some book sales out of it. But she was like, ask your clients to ask their therapist what experience they have with blended families and tell them to read chapters 1-7 of my book. And that will give them, as a therapist, that will give them what they need to know. And I'm like, okay. And sure, you read her book and her book is fabulous, The Surviving and Thriving. And so I tell people, I'm like, talk to your therapist, ask if they've heard of her or have read any of her stuff and point them in that direction. but you really need somebody that understands.
Yeah. There are so many dynamics. And if you don't know what it's like, so many stepmoms I hear say like, and I felt like this too, like you have little spies like walking around in your house and like everything's being reported back or your life is being controlled by another house or another woman specifically. Like, and that's very triggering for a lot of stepmoms. Unless you've walked that path or you've lived that, it's really hard to understand and wrap your head around. Like, how hard could it be, Cameron? You need to get it together, right? No, it's very insidious. No, we don't just try harder. That's not going to work.
100%. Well, okay. So let's talk about that because you do a lot of work with stepmoms around high conflict exes. So what, talk to me a little bit about that, about the high conflict. I've got a lot of experience in that too. And it's interesting because I feel like so many, it's definitely not all, but so many of the stepmoms I work with will come in and be like, oh my gosh. And it's this, and they'll tell me this, you'll never believe this. And they'll tell me this like crazy high conflict. I'm like, nope, I will absolutely believe that because
Yeah.
I've heard it so many times.
And that,
Tell
okay,
me,
so
like, how
that,
did you, if there's stuff that you're comfortable sharing about your own experience, or let's talk about like when the co-parenting dynamic, like when, you start out and it seems okay, but then it kind of shifts into that high conflict territory. Like you know, what do you do?
so when it starts out and it's all fine, I think it's great. But sometimes I think that it's hard for stepmoms because you always feel like, I mean, you always do it as a stepmom anyway, but if things are good, especially, you always feel like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. And so sometimes mentally, it's a lot harder to be in a high conflict situation because it feels like there's just bombs raining down like everywhere and you don't know like what's going to happen. But the stability of it always being bad is almost easier. So then you're not like, oh, it's good this week and then bad next week. It's like, you already know, like you can really manage your expectations. You're like, I already know that it's going to be bad no matter what happens. But to your point of like when stepmoms come to me and they're like, you're not going to believe this. And I'm like, actually I do, because guess what? The last 5 stepmoms I've talked to have said some variation of the exact same thing. And they're like, what? And here's what I would say to like, if you're listening to this and you're multitasking, like come back. But like, if you are in a high conflict situation and you are thinking, oh my gosh, I'm the only one experiencing this. Oh my gosh, like no one's going to believe that I'm feeling this way or that this is happening to me. I would just stop you and say, no, everyone has some sort of variation of what you're talking about. And maybe you see this too, but with the stepmoms that I coach, everyone's story is basically exactly the same. It's just tweaked to your family a little bit. Like their stressors are the same. The dynamic is a little bit the same. But again, it's just tweaked to your family. The insecurity, the jealousy, like the emotions that are bubbling up or like the wants, needs, and desires are basically the same. But it's just tweaked to your family. So when so to answer your question about like it being a good situation and then it going to like a high conflict, I think a lot of times stepmoms take that on and they're like, how do we get here? Like, what did I do to make this happen?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is such a slippery slope to get into because there's more than likely nothing that you as the stepmom did to make this happen, But like the other party, like whoever is involved, it says a lot about them and a lot about where they are on their journey of like healing and moving on and navigating life and how they're acting. All you can do, and this is such a hard thing to do, all you can do is control yourself.
Yep.
And
100%.
what's happening in your house, what's happening in your brain, like what's going on. And just yesterday I was responding to a comment about how do I navigate this stressor or this person, specifically the mom, like running around rent free in my head. And that's a question I get often.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what I tell my coaching clients is to set a timer, start with 30 minutes, be very generous with your time. Let yourself be mad, let yourself be angry, let yourself have the conversations in your head that you're never going to have. Let yourself scream at her, whatever it is, whatever you need to do to like get it out. Write her a letter that you're going to burn or like rip out.
Mm-hmm.
So like no one ever finds it. But give yourself that time and space to have that outlet and like let everything out. And then slowly you decrease that timer to where you can get it down to like 5 minutes. But when that timer goes off, you leave wherever it is that you are. Because sometimes the 4 walls of your house feel very suffocating. So go run errands, go work out, go outside, go to your garden, go read a book, go get coffee or whatever it is. Like go change your scenery and just get out of that. But back to like, it more than likely has nothing to do with you. You and I could switch places and I would be getting treated the same way. At my house, you would get treated how I'm treated. At your house, I'm going to get treated how you're treated. It's not you, Cameron, as the person, or you, Jennifer, as the person, or you, Rachel, or Sarah, or whoever. It's you, the role as a stepmom. It represents that, her ex has moved on, or the kids really like you, or whatever it is, has nothing to do with you. So rather than focusing on I need to work on changing her. Remember how I said earlier, like, oh, stepmoms are really good at being like, oh, Cameron needs to change this. That person needs to change that. my friend, are not able to do that, unfortunately. And we can die trying. Like, control freak here. Hi, I could absolutely try to manipulate a situation or control a person to try to get the outcome that I want. It never happens. And so your expectations are never going to be met. But okay, what can I do to help mitigate the situation, make it easier? And another thing I say to stepmoms, which I absolutely made this mistake too, was I told my husband everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's my best friend. Of course I should tell him everything. And now I'm like, oh, there were some things that I wish I could unsay, or some things that I wish I could undo. And I'm like, please don't make the mistake I did and go and tell him everything, because he doesn't deserve to know everything. He doesn't need to know everything.
So I think that's got to feel really good, though, for stepmoms, at least from what I hear from them, that like they aren't the only ones experiencing this. Like when they come in and they're like, you're not going to believe this. And you're like, actually, I will. And they're like, wait, I'm not the only one that, has to go through this. But the other thing I hear from them, and I'd love your thoughts on what you say to stepmoms about this, because it's like one of those things that it's sort of tough love because it's true. They're like, well, I always have to be the bigger person. Like I always have to like walk away and not, say something back to her. Like, what do you say to when they say that to you? Because it's, it's true. We are asked to be the bigger person and it sucks, but like, that's the dynamic we're in.
It's exhausting. It's exhausting, right? Because it's like in every other facet of your life, you don't do this, right? Like typically the stepmoms I attract are like high achieving, very type A, very like on it. Like, I'm so good at running your life. Like, let me run yours too. And so now you expect me to sit here and shut up and color, and this person can like say whatever they want to me, and you want me to say nothing back? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And I'm like, girlfriend, hi, welcome to the club. My name's Alicia. I'm over here with the like leader shirt on. I've been in your position. Like, I get it. Right. And here's what I say. You absolutely can say something back. Go ahead. But what happens every time you say something back? Does it escalate the situation?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. And then now you're in a texting war, right? And then now you and your partner are fighting. Amazing. Congratulations. Now you're driving a wedge in between your relationship. Now you are creating turmoil inside your own relationship because of this outside person. No, our relationship is the two of us. We are supposed to be together versus whatever situation or person, right? You guys are supposed to be a team. And no, you're not always going to operate as a team. I totally get that. That's what we're striving for. But you guys are still your own people. You have your own wants, needs, and desires. You're your own individuals.
Yeah, totally.
But yes, being the bigger person is really exhausting. And there was, I don't know if you know this or if you've heard it, but there was a reel like 2 years ago. It was something like, being the bigger person sounds like tolerating the disrespect. And I was like, oh yeah, it does feel like that. But here's what I say to that. Because it's so true. Like you can just say whatever you want to me and I just say nothing back. Silence is a response. Sometimes the best response is no response. My husband had said to me once, I don't care what she thinks. I care what you think.
I love that.
And I'm like, oh, that's really good, actually. I'm like, why don't you say something to her? Why don't you put her in her place? And he was like, I don't care what she thinks. She can be mad at me. I don't care. I don't want you to be mad at me.
Yeah.
This is a relationship that I'm like trying to nurture over here. If you would let me. I'm like, okay.
Well, and I also love silence as a response because it is. And I think that we get caught in that trap so often of like, they'll say something that is so outlandish and so wrong that we have to make sure they know they're wrong.
Yeah. Why? That's your ego.
No, we don't.
Yeah. That is your ego.
It's sort of, yeah. I mean, but it is really hard to retrain the way you think to let that go, and it's a matter of control, and it's a matter of like refocusing on what is important. And that is, as you said, your relationship.
Yeah. There's a couple more things with that though. The whole, like, I need to make sure that they know that they are wrong. Why? That's what I would say to you. Why? Do you literally care what she thinks? No, you're doing it.
Like, what is that going to do?
Right.
How is that going to improve the dynamic?
Right. You're doing it to prove a point. Why are we concerned about proving a point with her? Do you, again, back to like, do you care what she thinks? No. So, and it's not about, Like, I'm going to show you who I am. Okay, fine. In any other arena, maybe you have that power at work to do that. But in this arena, like, it doesn't matter. But then at the end of the day, the kids see the attention. The kids see
Yes, they
all of
do.
it, or they hear it, or they can see how you change. Or even though you think that you're being cryptic and maybe you've got a cute pet name for her and that's how you and your partner, no, the kids know. And so,
No, oh my God, the kids are so smart.
yeah, they're so smart.
They are so much smarter than we give them credit for.
Well, I've also had stepmoms where they've come into coaching and they've said that their stepkid has gone through like their partner's phone, or like they have said, hey, Alicia, I've never had this happen to me, but let's say one of my stepkids was like, hey, Alicia, can I use your phone to like take pictures? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And I just unlock it, rather than like, I have an iPhone, rather than them like just using the camera like from the lock screen. And then they go through and like read stuff. No, like, no. So just be really mindful of that. But then also, like, the back end of that is at some point, your stepkids are going to be adults and they're going to be able to look. My parents are divorced, and I can look back on my childhood and be like, ooh, I can see a lot more clearly now what happened.
Yep, 100%. My parents are divorced too. And yes, I think as kids age, they start to understand a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really eye-opening, I think, for them. And I say this to stepmoms too, like if you can get your responses under control and not kind of continue to fan the flames, they'll see that too.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to play the long game, and it sucks. It sucks because it feels really hard.
It does feel really hard. And the question of how can I get to that part where I can play the long game and I'm not fanning the flames is $1 million question. Like, if you and I could answer that, like, how long is it going to take me, Cameron? We'd be millionaires. Are you kidding me? Like, that would be amazing. I just recorded a podcast episode. It's number 108. I'm going to tell you the title: When You Can't Step Back, Managing Stepmom Stress in the Heat of the Moment. Because so many times stepmoms are like, well, what do? I can't step back. Maybe they're full-time. Maybe they've got the kids and like their partner's out of the house for a work day or whatever.
Yep.
It's really hard to manage your own emotions. Like, so one of my situations, personal part of where our marriage counselor turned to me and was like, okay, Alicia, let's talk about you. I could not emotionally regulate. I was like 0 to 60 and like a drop of a hat. And that was like a good thing for me. I was like, look, no, that's not a good thing. Like, I could not rate, like, not everything was fight or flight.
Yeah.
Shockingly, like, not everything was fight or flight. Like, not everything needed a reaction.
Yeah.
I had to learn how to be like, okay, this is not life or death. It might feel like it because I'm not in control of the situation and it's not the outcome that I wanted, but I'm not going to die. I'm okay. I might be frustrated, but that doesn't mean I need to figuratively flip a table.
But I love that. Like, okay, stepmom, let's take a step back. This is not life or death. It feels like it, but it is not.
Yeah. And something that helped was, is this going to matter in 5 months? Is this going to matter next year? More chances than not, no. Like, things that used to make me crazy are like the last minute schedule changes, or we lived really close to the mom. Like, she's now moved, but it was like a 5-minute drive to get to her house. So it was so easy. It was convenient to like run back to her house and like grab something. Right. But also, like, it's really frustrating. Like, the last thing I want to do is like, oh, the morning of school, like, let's go get insert whatever, or let's run back after you've been here for 6 hours to go grab something, or have her drop by. And like, it just felt very intrusive. Like, you guys had your time. Now we have our time. Like,
yeah. And again, it goes back to there's so many things in a stepmom's life that you can't control.
Yeah.
And that it's so frustrating when that happens. And so how can you tailor your reactions or improve sort of your mindset around these things that, like, yes, we know this sucks. We know it sucks when that happens, and you have to do something that you did not plan for and you cannot control. Like, I mean, it's hard.
Something that helped with like the kids forgetting things was me changing my mindset of like, this sucks and I hate this. It's such an inconvenience to me. Like, I absolutely hate this. To the kids didn't ask for their parents to be divorced. They didn't ask to go back and forth between homes. They didn't ask to like have to live out of a basket, because there was a basket that we had that would go back and forth. They're okay. First of all, they're kids. Like, I'm the adult in the situation. Like, supposedly your brain is completely developed at 25. I was past 25, and I'm irrational about this. Like, let's get it together, girlfriend. A lot easier said than done, right? But how fair is it for me to expect a 9 and 12-year-old or a 10 and 13-year-old to have their stuff together every morning?
Yep.
Listen, they're kids. The last thing they're thinking about is what an inconvenience it is to me that we have to go and get their stuff. They're thinking like, that's my sweatshirt. I want that sweatshirt. Oh shoot, I forgot it at mom's house because I was so busy outside riding bikes or playing or whatever it is. Or they would forget things at our house and they'd have to come back and get them. That sucks. They didn't ask for it.
It does. I think that's so important, what you're talking about. The ability to take a step back and get out of our head and think about the kids in an empathetic way. Because, I mean, sometimes the kids are jerks, right? Like, sometimes you're like, oh my God, these kids, my head's going to explode if I have to handle any more of them, like jumping on the couch or whatever, and it's really hard to have empathy. But if you can pull yourself out of it and think like, what is their life like? What are they thinking in this moment? 9 times out of 10, it'll let you kind of cool down a little bit and realize that like, it's not a picnic for them either.
Yeah.
They did not ask for any of this, and regardless of how great your relationship is with them, they probably wish their parents were back together.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Can we talk about that? That's such a triggering thing though for stepmoms, because how awesome does it feel knowing that you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 kids in your house that are like, oh, you know what, Cameron, I really like you, but I wish my mom was here instead of you. Like, that sucks. But I think it's the reality of the situation. Every kid is like that, right? Like, it'd be great if my mom and dad were.
But if you can own that was like one of the biggest steps I was able to take with my stepkids is to have that conversation with them. When one of them was upset, I said, you know what? It's okay that like, maybe I'm not the person you want to talk to about this. And it's also okay. You probably have a thought in your head about like, you wish your parents were back together. You wish I wasn't around. And like, that does not hurt my feelings. And when I was able to say that to them, honestly, you have to be able to mean it.
Honest. Yeah.
But it was so empowering because it lets them own their feelings. And it actually ends up improving your relationship with them because they feel safe in expressing things to you,
Yeah, agree. I would say to my stepkids, I'm not your mom and I'm not your dad. You have one of each, and they're both very involved. However, I am an adult in the situation. I am on your team. I can support you in every way that I can, unless you lie to me or unless you kill yourself for someone else. In that situation, it might be messy. We'll get through it, but it'll be messy. But I'm here to support you. And you're right. It's like a reprieve. They're like, oh. And initially, I think they both were like, what kind of witchcraft is this? What are you trying to do? What kind of sorcery is this? Right? Like, are you trying to get me to like you?
Yeah.
But then eventually, your actions obviously have to match your words. But then eventually they were like, oh, you're serious. Like, you actually do care. You will be here. And then, they open up. Then you get to have like your own relationship with them outside of mom, outside of dad. And it helps to build a relationship with them outside of like a step parent child relationship. Like, just see them as a person and connect with them as a person. And I've talked about this before on my podcast. I'm in our basement, like recording with you rather than my office. And my stepson would be down here playing video games. I am not a video gamer. I don't really enjoy video games, but I would sit down here and watch him play video games. And much to his chagrin, he was never like, oh, I can't wait to explain to you what's happening. But, I could hear like his buddies, like I could recognize voices of like who he was talking to and, like tell them I say hi. But he and I are very close. We've always been pretty close. And he'd be like, oh, this is what's happening. Or it also gave me something to talk to him about, like over dinner or just like hanging out. Like, we can just hang out and like, oh my gosh, I could like squeeze that kid. I just love him so much. But like, we could just chat about whatever it is that he was doing, or like he really likes paintball or airsoft. He's now in the military, and like will send me like updates of like what he's doing, or like what cool thing they've gotten to do, or like what beaches they've traveled to. He's in Europe, so like he like everything is like a skip away, right? And then same with my stepdaughter. She's not into video games. We would go and like get her nails done, or she's into art things. And so we would like do art stuff, or she's really into makeup or like doing hair. But recognizing that just because they're kids, they can be very, very different. And your relationship with them can be very different. How you parent them or guide them or mentor them or navigate them through life can be very different. What works for one kid does not work for the other kid.
100%. 100%. I love it. Well, I am so excited that you are speaking at the summit this year. And we're going to have a great conversation completely live, which is going to be amazing. This is the first time we've done that. And I think that it's going to be such a fun few days. But you and I are going to be talking about like the challenging dynamics that can exist a lot of times with extended family, like in-laws. And I think that is going to be such a fascinating conversation. Do you want to give any kind of like little preview or anything like that before we wrap up?
Yeah, I would say in-laws can be so challenging, especially if they maintain a relationship or like a very close relationship with your stepkids' mom. And I will tell you this, if that's your dynamic, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, that's totally me. My in-laws maintain a really close relationship with the kids' mom. That has nothing to do with your relationship. And it's really hard to not get caught in the, well, if they're friends with her, they can't be friends with me. If they like her, they can't like me. They're very, very, very separate. And I'll go into like why.
Yeah, they are. I'm so excited about that conversation because it feels very personal. I think for stepmoms, and they feel very hurt. And so I think that's going to be a really, really great conversation. I'm so excited for it. Okay. Thank you so much. I feel like we could just talk forever. And we did this the last time we talked and ended up talking for like an hour because we can just kind of gab. And so I really appreciate you coming on. You, I've got a little freebie for listeners. What do you have? And I will drop the link in the show notes. And I will also, if you're listening, I will drop the links to Alicia's podcast and her website and social media and all that good stuff too, so that you know where to find her.
I would say the best freebie that you can get specifically for this, like if you're working on like parallel parenting versus like co-parenting, is setting your house up for success. So I have a resource about that for setting your house up for like house expectations. So if you are looking for that, like set family up for success, how to create house expectations that work for everyone. If you head to aliciakrasko.com/expectations, that's where that is.
Love that.
But it gets you and your partner on the same page as far as like, okay, how are we going to run our house regardless of like whatever dumpster fire is happening around us? Like this is how we're going to set our house up for success, because so many different things can be going on and it feels like chaos. And I was like, I'm the adult in this situation and I'm so confused on like what everyone should or should not be doing. Can we have some sort of like order and structure, please? Like routine, like that helps.
It is. It's so hard to kind of break that cycle of chaos especially when you're knee deep in it. So, well, thank you. I will link to all of that in the show notes and can't wait to talk again at the summit. And for those of you listening, just head to the stepmomsummit.com. I will put a link in the show notes where you can get your free ticket in, and it is going to be amazing. So thank you so much, Alicia.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
That's it for this week. If you've enjoyed our chat, I hope you'll help spread the word. Share this episode with friends and head on over to wherever you listen to podcasts and leave me a review. And don't forget, for more great stepmom content, head on over to thiscustomlife.com and follow me on social media. Just search This Custom Life on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. Until next time, you keep being you and know that we are in this together. See you here next week.